Hey, ardent fans and followers, I presume you and your beloved are fine and dandy. It is social activist come good-hearted preacher, Professor Estorage with absolute delight from a 114 video on anvil of publication on YouTube today, 26 November 2020, Thursday. Not Thursday, I'm sorry, Friday. 27 date also there is a correction. The topic for today is looting, also known as exploitation, abuse of natural resources of oceans and seas. All of us are aware that about 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, either sea, ocean, lakes, rivers, etc. Sea is shallow and depth of water is below 500 meters, and ocean is much deeper. Both sea and water serve a lot of purposes. This water evaporates and comes down as rain, absorption of carbon dioxide and emission of oxygen, desalination and conversion as edible quality water. Saudi Arabia is the biggest desalination plant in the world. It is a renewable source of water and it is abundant in nature. Energy conversion from either tidal waves, oceanic thermal energy conversion, etc. Marine species consumed by humans and minerals that can be mined from deep seas and oceans. Useful flora like jade, algae, etc. Most of the earthquakes occur in seas and oceans, and land where people live is not affected much. It absorbs much of these vibrations, else the damage would be much higher for humans. Sometimes these quakes set off what are called as tsunamis, harbor waves too. Crude oil and natural gas is available in plenty, and it is extracted by offshore drilling rigs. Salt is a product of this water, calcium from sea shells, natural pearls from oysters, thermal and nuclear power plants are cooled using this water, quartz and thorium from beach sand. The list is endless. I have mentioned only a salient few. In return, humans are polluting this water by letting out all kinds of effluents, over extraction of marine species, minerals, and all other useful materials. Crude oil is transported through oil tankers and leakages and spillage affects all marine species adversely. Such oil leakage and spillage is an environmental hazard, and removal of this oil from water is an expensive and time consuming process. Six of the most exploited natural resources are sand, water, fossil fuels, palm oil, trees, and soil. The exploitation of natural resources is the use of natural resources for economic growth, sometimes with a negative connotation of accompanying environmental degradation. It started to emerge as on an industrial scale in the 19th century as the extraction and processing of raw materials, such as in mining, steam power, and machinery, developed much further than it had in pre-industrial areas. During the 20th century, energy consumption rapidly increased. Today, about 80% of the world's energy consumption is sustained by the extraction of fossil fuels, which consists of oil, coal, and gas. Another non-renewable resource that is exploited by humans is subsoil minerals, such as precious metals that are mainly used in the production of industrial commodities. Intensive agriculture is an example of a mode of production that hinders many aspects of the natural environment. For example, the degradation of forests in a terrestrial ecosystem and water pollution in an aquatic ecosystem. As a world population rises and economic growth occurs, the depletion of natural resources influenced by the unsustainable extraction of raw materials becomes an increasing concern. Natural resources are not limitless, and the following consequences can arise from the careless and excessive consumption of these resources: deforestation, desertification, extinction of species, forced migration, soil erosion, oil depletion, ozone depletion, greenhouse gas increase, extreme energy, water gasification, natural hazard, natural disaster, metals and minerals depletion. The consequences of oak steady environmental disaster illustrate the potential negative effects from the exploitation of natural resources. The resulting mining pollution includes toxic contamination of the natural water supply for communities along the Oak Terry River, causing widespread killing of aquatic life. When a mining company ends a project after extracting the raw materials from the area of a developing country, the local people are left to manage with the environmental damage done to their community and the long run sustainability of the economic benefits stimulated by the mining company's presence becomes a concern. Blue economy is a term in economics relating to the exploitation and preservation of the marine environment. Its scope of interpretation varies among organizations. According to the World Bank, the blue economy is a sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs while preserving the health of ocean ecosystem. European Commission defines it as all economic activities related to oceans, seas, and coasts. It covers a wide range of interlinked, established, and emerging sectors. The Commonwealth of Nations considers it an emerging concept which encourages better stewardship of our ocean or blue resources. Conservation International adds that the blue economy also includes economic benefits that may not be marketed, such as carbon storage, coastal protection, cultural values, and biodiversity. The Center for the Blue Economy says it is now a widely used term around the world. The three related but distinct meanings: the overall contribution of the oceans to economies, the need to address the environmental and ecological sustainability of the oceans and the ocean economy as a growth opportunity for both developed and developing countries. The United Nations representative recently defined the blue economy as an economy that comprises a range of economic sectors and related policies that together determine whether the use of ocean resources is sustainable. An important challenge of the blue economy is to understand and better manage the many aspects of oceanic sustainability, ranging from sustainable fisheries to ecosystem health to preventing pollution. Secondly, the blue economy challenges us to realize that the sustainable management of ocean resources will require collaboration across borders and sectors through a variety of partnerships and on a scale that has not been previously achieved. This is a tall order, particularly for small island developing states, SIDS, and the least developed countries, LDCs, and who face significant limitations. The UN notes that the blue economy will aid in achieving the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, of which is one goal 14 is life below water. World Wildlife Fund begins its report principles for a sustainable blue economy with the two senses given to this term. For some, blue economy means the use of the sea and its resources for sustainable economic development. For the others, it simply refers to any economic activity in the maritime sector, whether sustainable or not. As the WWF, World Wildlife Fund, reveals in its purpose of the report, there is still no widely accepted definition of the term blue economy, despite increasing high-level adoption of it as a concept and as a goal of policy making and investment. Ocean economy simply deals with the use of ocean resources and is strictly aimed at empowering the economic system of ocean. Blue economy goes beyond viewing the ocean economy solely as a mechanism for economic growth. It focuses on the sustainability of ocean for economic growth. Therefore, blue economy encompasses ecological aspects of the ocean along with economic aspects. Green economy is defined as an economy that aims at reducing the environmental risks and that aims for sustainable development without degrading the environment. It is closely related with ecological economics. Therefore, blue economy is a part of green economy. During Rio Plus 20 summit in June 2012, Pacific Small Island Developing States stated that for them, a green economy was in fact a blue economy. A related term is blue growth, which means support to the growth of the maritime sector in a sustainable way. The term is adopted by the European Union as an integrated maritime policy to achieve the goals of the Europe 2020 strategy. World Bank specifies three challenges that limit the potential to develop a blue economy. Current economic trends that have been rapidly degrading ocean resources, the lack of investment in human capital for employment and development in innovative blue economy sectors, inadequate care for marine resources and ecosystem services of the ocean. Deep sea mining is a mineral retrieval process that takes place on the ocean floor. Ocean mining sites are usually around large areas of polymetallic nodules are active and extinct hydrothermal vents at 1,400 to 3,700 meters below the ocean surface. The vents create globular or massive sulfide deposits which contain valuable metals such as silver, gold, copper, manganese, cobalt, and zinc. These deposits are mined using either hydraulic pumps or bucket systems that take ore to the surface of the to be processed. As with all mining operations, deep sea mining raises questions about its potential environmental impact. Environmental advocacy groups such as Greenpeace and Deep Sea Mining Campaign have argued that seabed mining should not be permitted in most of the world's oceans because of the potential for damage to deep sea ecosystem and pollution by heavy metal-laden plumes. In the 1960s, the prospect of deep sea mining was brought up by the publication of J.L. Merrow's Mineral Resources of the Sea. The book claimed that nearly limitless supplies of cobalt, nickel, and other metals could be found throughout the planet's oceans. Merrow stated that these metals occurred in deposits of manganese nodules, which appear as lumps of compressed flowers on the sea floor at depths of about 5,000 meters. Some nations, including France, Germany, and the US, sent out research vessels in search of nodule deposits. Initial estimates of deep sea mining viability turned out to be much exaggerated. This overestimate, coupled with depressed metal prices, led to near abandonment of nodule mining by 1982. From the 1960s to 1984, an estimated US dollars 650 million has been spent on the venture, with little or no return. Over the past decade, a new phase of deep sea mining has begun. Rising demand for precious metals in Japan, China, Korea, and India has pushed these countries in search of new sources. Interest has recently shifted toward hydrothermal vents as a source of metals instead of scattered nodules. The trend of transition towards electricity-based information and transportation infrastructure currently seen in Western societies further pushes demands for precious metals. The current revived interest in phosphorus nodule mining at the seafloor stems from phosphor-based artificial fertilizers being of significant importance for the world food production. Growing world population pushes the need for artificial fertilizers or greater incorporation of organic systems within agricultural infrastructure. Currently, the best potential deep sea site, the Solvara 1 project, has been found in the waters of Papua New Guinea, a high-grade copper gold resource and the world's first seafloor massive sulfide SMS resource. The Solvara 1 project is located at 1,600 meters water depth in the Bismarck Sea, New Ireland province. Using remotely operated underwater vehicles ROV technology developed by the UK-based Soil Machine Dynamics, Nautilus Minerals Incorporated is first company of its kind to announce plans to begin its full-scale undersea excavation of mineral deposits. However, a dispute with the government of Papua New Guinea delayed production and it's now scheduled to commence commercial operations in early 2018. An additional site that is being explored and looked at as a potential deep sea mining site is a Clarion Clipperton Fracture Zone CCFZ. The CCFZ, there are many small spherical rocks, sizes varying between microscopic levels and the size of volleyballs floating around. These rocks are composed of many different minerals, including copper, titanium, and manganese. Mining claims registered with the International Seabed Authority are mostly located in the CCFZ, or most commonly in the manganese nodule province. The world's first large-scale mining of hydrothermal vent mineral deposits was carried out by Japan in August September 2017. Japan Oil, Gas and Metals Mineral Natural, National Corporation JOGNEC carried out this operation using the research vessel Hakurei. This mining was carried out at the Izuna Hole Cauldron vent field within the hydrothermally active back arc basin known as the Okinawa Trough, which contains 15 confirmed vent fields according to the Inter-Ridge Vents database. On November 10, 2020, the Chinese submersible Fendosh reached the bottom of the Mariana Trench, 10,909 meters. It did not surpass the record of American undersea explorer Victor Vescova, who claimed 10,927 meters. In May 2019, chief designer of the submersible E. Kong said the seabed was abundant with resources and a treasure map can be made of the deep sea. The international law-based regulations on deep sea mining are contained in the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea from 1973 to 1982, which came into force in 1994. The convention set up the International Seabed Authority, ISA, which regulates nations' deep sea mining ventures outside each nation's exclusive economic zone. There are 200 nautical mile areas surrounding the coastal nations. The ISA requires nations interested in mining to explore two equal mining sites and turn one over to the ISA along with the transfer of mining technology over a 10 to 20-year period. This seemed reasonable at the time because it was widely believed that nodule mining could be extremely profitable. However, these strict requirements led some industrialized countries to refuse to sign the initial treaty in 1982. The US abides by the Deep Seabed Hard Mineral Resources Act, which was originally written in 1980. This legislation is largely recognized as one of the main concerns the US has with ratifying UN clause CLOS within the EZ of nation states of seabed mining comes under the jurisdiction of national laws. Despite extensive exploration both within and outside of EEZs, only a few countries, notably New Zealand, have established legal and institutional frameworks for the future development of deep seabed mining. Papua New Guinea was the first country to approve a permit for the exploration of minerals in the deep seabed. Salvara 1 was awarded its license and environmental permits despite 3 independent reviews of the environmental impact statement. Mine finding significant gaps and flaws in the underlying science. The ISA has recently arranged a workshop in Australia where scientific experts, industry representatives, legal specialists, and academics work towards improving existing regulations and ensuring the development of seabed minerals does not cause serious and permanent damage to the marine environment. The deep sea contains many different resources available for extraction, including silver, gold, copper, manganese, cobalt, and zinc. These raw materials are found in various forms on the sea floor. Diamonds are also mined from the seabed by De Beers and others. Nautilus Minerals Incorporated and Neptune Minerals are planning to mine the offshore waters of Papua New Guinea and New Zealand. Research shows that polymetallic nodule fields are hotspots of abundance and diversity for a highly vulnerable abyssal fauna. Because deep sea mining is a relatively new field, the complete consequences of full-scale mining operations on this ecosystem are unknown. However, some researchers said they believe that removal of parts of the seafloor will result in disturbances to the benthic layer, increased toxicity of the water column, and sediment plumes from tailings. Removing parts of the seafloor could disturb the habitat of benthic organisms with unknown long-term effects. Aside from the direct impact of mining the area, some researchers and environmental activists have raised concerns about leakage, spills, and corrosion that could alter the mining area's chemical makeup. Among the impacts of deep sea mining, sediment plumes could have the greatest impact. Plumes are caused when the tailings from mining, usually fine particles, are dumped back into the ocean, creating a cloud of particles floating in the water. Two types of plumes occur: near water bottom plumes and surface plumes. Near bottom plumes occur when the tailings are pumped back down to the mining site. The floating particles increase the turbidity or cloudiness of the water, clogging filter feeding apparatuses used by benthic organisms. Surface plumes cause a more serious problem. Depending on the size of the particles and water currents, the plumes could spread over vast areas. The plumes could impact zooplankton and light penetration, in turn affecting the food web of the area. A rare species called scaly foot snail, also known as sea pangolin, has become first species to be threatened because of deep sea mining. An article in the Harvard Environmental Law Review in April 2018 argued that the new global gold rush of deep sea mining shares many features with past resource scrambles, including a general disregard for environmental and social impacts. And the many features with past resource scrambles, including a general disregard for environmental and social impacts and the marginalization of indigenous people and their rights. The Foreshore and Seabed Act 2004 ignited fierce indigenous opposition in New Zealand as its claiming of the seabed for the crown in order to open it up to mining conflicted with the Maori claims to the customary lands, who protested the act as a sea grab. Looting. Later, this act was repealed after an investigation from the UN Commission on Human Rights upheld charges of discrimination. The act was subsequently repealed and replaced with the Marine and Coastal Area Bill 2011. However, conflicts between indigenous sovereignty and seabed mining continue. Organizations like the Deep Sea Mining Campaign and Alliance of Salvara Warriors, comprising 20 communities in the Bismarck and Solomon Sea, are examples of organizations that are seeking to ban seabed mining in Papua New Guinea, where the Salvara 1 project is set to occur in the Pacific. They argue primarily that decision making about deep sea mining has not adequately addressed free, prior, and informed consent from affected communities and have not adhered to the precautionary principle, a role proposed by the 1982 UN World Charter for Nature, which informs the ISA regulatory framework for mineral exploitation of the deep sea. Exploitation is allowed, huh? Bullshit. Three distinct types of ocean resources are commonly mentioned as possible energy resources: tides, waves, and ocean temperature differentials, ocean thermal energy conversion, or OTEC. For example, tidal energy schemes capture water at high tide and release it at low tide. Wave energy generation devices fall into two general classifications: fixed and floating. In both cases, the oscillating motion of an incoming and outgoing wave is used to drive turbines that generate electricity. Tide energy system traps high tides in a reservoir. When the tide drops, the water behind the reservoir flows through a power turbine, generating electricity. OETC uses a difference in temperature between the warm surface of water and cold deep ocean water to make electricity. The exploitation of oil and gas drilling can pose adverse health and environmental impacts, from contamination of surface and underground water system with drilling, mud, and fluids. Offshore and onshore drilling can cause blowout and put the life of oil workers at risk. Spills and leakages may occur and pollute ocean waters or close land areas, either as a result of industrial accidents or through storm damage to drilling rigs, or formation pressure upsurge. Oil spills from oil wells are not uncommon and can pollute vast areas both offshore and onshore, generating clear and measurable environmental impacts. Nigeria, an estimated 260,000 barrels of oil spill each year into the Niger Delta and surrounding areas with devastating impacts on people, plants, and wildlife. Marine spills such as these can lead to freshwater system contamination when the oil hits the shoreline and drifts up through estuaries into streams. From extraction to end use, petroleum products affect surface water and groundwater, impairing water quality with hydrocarbons, salts, nutrients, a host of organic compounds, and various heavy metals. Movement of oil and gas from wells to processors needs enormous facilities, and such creates Environmental risks. Pipelines and tankers are used in the world today to convey oil and gas, both of which are prone to spills. Producers convey crude oil from the well via pipelines or ships to refineries, where crude oil is distilled into a variety of petroleum products, including gasoline, kerosene, fuel oils, liquefied petroleum gas (LPG), various lubricants, asphalt, and precursors to plastic and pharmaceutical products, among others. Yeah, plastics are really harmful to the ocean. Plastics never degrade. So many marine species are affected by the plastics, and we consume these marine species, and we are also indirectly affected. These things have been found out through research. These petroleum products are then distributed to various modes to other manufacturers and end users. Each of these steps can affect surface water sources negatively. After production, crude oil is refined through a series of water-intensive processes. Water is used for steam as part of the refining process as wash water and for cooling. Process water typically becomes contaminated with sulfur and ammonia, requiring treatment. Marine resources refer to these substances, energy, and marine space existing in the marine environment that can be exploited and utilized by people, including marine biological resources, seawater resources, seabed mineral resources, marine renewable energy, and marine space resources, etc. Advances in science and technology, as well as the in-depth exploration, have gradually highlighted that the oceans contain far more resources than that of land. Thereby, coastal countries have rapidly launched a large amount of investment for exploitation and utilization. Outrightly, they say exploitation. How could some particular persons exploit? As a series of disasters that cannot be underestimated have been caused by disorderly development. Many professionals have carried out detailed research on marine resources, development, and ecological protection. Since the sustainable development of the oceans means that of human beings, the development of the ocean should be promoted simultaneously with the protection of the marine ecosystem. Nevertheless, a majority of researchers have been carried out from one perspective, such as a certain resource or ecological environment, by researchers on the development of marine resources and marine ecological protection. Are expected to be carried out from a systematic perspective. As a huge and organic multivariate dynamic systems, the ocean assumes powerful self-repair and purification functions with a large amount of renewable and relevant sources in it. Hence, sustainable development and ecological protection has to be taken as a primary premise in the exploitation and utilization of natural resources, marine resources in particular. So as to ensure the sustainable development of mankind. Since ancient times, the exploitation of natural resources marine resources has mainly focused on fishing and collecting marine living resources, obtaining salt by evaporating brine. Since many years ago, the overexploitation of marine organisms has actually existed in China. In ancient times, the fishing or marine organisms was limited to fishing and shellfish picking activities, while modern fishing methods are demonstrating increasingly mechanized and on a large scale. There is also the emergence of highly destructive and predatory ways, such as fishing with explosives. Large-scale fishing results in the failure of marine communities to regenerate within the effective cycle, which leads to the sharp reduction of marine species the deterioration of living conditions, the gradual disappearance of rare species, the significant reduction of large-scale fisheries, the obvious decline or even depletion of fishery resources. In this way, fishermen's lives in the future will be seriously affected. In recent years, the irrational and disorderly exploitation of marine resources has become increasingly severe in China. Not only in China, in US, I would say. For example, failing to strictly conforming to the regulations in the utilization of the ocean, some local governments conduct land reclamation, sea filling, and even block the circulation of seawater, which has caused serious damage to the marine ecosystem. Among them, the most vulnerable are coral reefs, mangroves, Casanina equisetifolia, shelter belts on sandy coasts in the south and wetlands in estuaries, which are parts of marine resources easy to be damaged. In addition, other impacts include the dramatic shortening of coastlines, a dramatic decline in marine life, and even the endangerment of some rare species due to the lack of habitat. Whereas the damage to marine resources caused by such actions as reclamation will take a period of time rather than immediate manifestation, while the exploitation and utilization of resources such as coastal engineering, construction, and submarine sand extraction will also aggravate a degree of damage to the coastline. The irrational and disorderly utilization of the ocean will cause serious harm to the sustainable development of marine resources and navigating on the sea. In view of the increasing shortage of energy at home and abroad in recent years, as an energy treasury, there are also abundant renewable energy resources in ocean, such as marine wind energy, tidal energy, wave energy, temperature difference energy, salt difference energy, except for a large number of mineral energy, which has attracted the attention of energy developers and led the main direction of current energy development to marine energy development. Apart from a variety of energies, the ocean also contains multifarious other resources. With a gradual improvement of scientific and technological level in the exploitation and utilization of marine resources in the world, the economic value of marine resources is becoming increasingly highlighted. Petroleum pollution is regarded as the most harmful pollution source in the exploitation and utilization. Why do they combine utilization? Utilization is okay. Exploitation is wrong. Proper utilization is okay. Utilization of human marine resources. Is exploitation legal? They are trying to legalize exploitation and abuse. In the process of exploitation, kill those perpetrators. Chop off the head, chop off the tongues, chop off the hands, chop off the dicks. In the process of exploitation, refining and transportation of petroleum and its derivatives, accidental leakage in the sea will form an oil film on the surface of seawater, which will not only prevent sunlight from reaching the seabed and also seriously affect the photosynthesis of animals and plants in the water due to the lack of sunlight, so that animals cannot eat, grow, and reproduce normally. The harmfulness and toxicity of petroleum and its petrochemical products will also cause corrosion and damage to seawater, marine organisms, marine engineering, and even human beings. Pollution of the ocean will destroy the ecological balance of the ocean area, deteriorate the whole marine environment. As a result, a vicious circle will be formed. In view of the variety of potential dangers in the ocean, when improving the utilization rate of marine resources and increasing economic benefits, we should pay due attention to the marine environment, promote low carbon development, actively cultivate people's awareness of low carbon life, remind people to reduce the discharge of domestic sewage, and change their way of life so as to achieve the rational exploitation and utilization of marine resources by adhering to the concept of low carbon development. In the process of exploiting and utilizing marine resources, another behavior that can cause pollution is mariculture. The rapid development of aquaculture industry in the past 30 years, some people in certain areas who merely pursue economic benefits violate relevant regulations and develop aquaculture too intensively, which has led to the increasingly serious self-pollution of aquaculture industry. In order to maximize economic benefits, an increasing number of aquaculture farmers put in excessive amounts of bait and antibiotics, while the aquaculture objects also produce large amount of excreta, which will cause serious eutrophication, eutrophication of the water body, thus greatly enhancing the incidence of red tide by facilitating the growth and reproduction of toxic organisms such as red tide in the aquaculture area. As an extremely dangerous phenomenon, except for the harm to the marine environment, marine fisheries and mariculture, serious red tide will also pose threats on human health. In order to solve the problem of overfishing, a series of measures have been implemented by the government, including the adoption and formulation of rules on marine fishing relating to overfishing and seasonal fishing, the introduction of regulations on fishing suspension in summer, reproduction and releasing, the enhancement of management of environmental problems around the oceans to ensure the maximum protection of marine resources, the surrounding environment, as well as the constant increase of people's awareness of environmental protection of marine resources in the marine environment by strengthening publicity. Despite the fact that these measures provide more opportunities for sustainable development of marine organisms, the effect is not as obvious as expected because fishermen are driven by benefits. Those fishermen who live by fishing are more concerned about their actual benefits rather than whether the overfishing will damage the sustainable benefit development of marine resources. Very selfish, self-centered assholes. The only thing they are sure of is that the more they catch, the more economic benefits they will get. What about the others? Are they doing a service to the society by catching the fish and selling it in the market? It's business, rotten scoundrels, or simply because of the pressure of life. The less the resources are, the more unscrupulous people will be. Given that the total amounts of marine resources are certain, the more seriously marine resources have been damaged, the more dangerous marine ecology will be. As one of the current concepts of economic development, the sustainable development of marine resources through the implementation of marine ecological protection is considered as a low carbon development model, which is recognized as an essential direction in the development of national economy. With the decline of global forest coverage, the massive consumption of mineral energy and the emission of tremendous harmful gases, the acceleration of air pollution and climate warming, the destruction of the marine environment and the deterioration of the global environment, the new concept of low carbon development has been put forward by the international community in response to the demand of human survival. The concept of low carbon economy has been identified as a major and new development direction by the international community. Since marine resources, especially marine renewable resources, are currently the most abundant resources in the world, we are expected to achieve a full understanding of their significance. Considering that the severe destruction of marine ecosystem will be a great challenge to the survival and development of human beings, exploitation and utilization of marine resources have to be carried out reasonably, which, except for being able to guarantee a favorable living environment for more marine organisms, is also conducive to the effective solution of the problems, including resource scarcity and serious environmental pollution. Therefore, the concept of sustainable low carbon development has to be upheld in the exploitation and utilization of marine resources, while the necessity for marine ecological protection shall be highly emphasized. It is required that in the development of marine resources and marine ecological protection, we should adhere to the concept of ecological protection in the exploitation and utilization of marine resources. While in developing marine economy, obtaining economic benefits through the development of marine economy has to be based on the concern for marine resources and marine ecological environment. Only when the development of marine resources and the protection of ecosystem are upheld simultaneously can the comprehensive strength and international competitiveness of China be fundamentally enhanced. Aiming at protecting the marine environment, it is first required to conduct control over the land pollution, including actively controlling the pollution of land-based pollutants to the marine environment, continuously evaluating the level of marine discharge from coastal sewage outlets, adopting sewage treatment measures to strictly control the sewage discharge into rivers and oceans, as well as ensuring that all sewage has been treated before discharging. Minimize the discharge of pollutants which may cause eutrophication of or red tide in the sea due to enrichment. Encourage farmers to reduce the use of pesticides and fertilizers. Prohibit the use of fertilizers and pesticides that may lead to severe pollution to land resources. Control the discharge of pollutants and certain pollution activities at sea. Require people working at sea to take timely measures to protect the living areas of rare organisms when confronting dangers. Protect the living areas of rare organisms. Actively assess the impact of the use of oil and gas on sustainable development. Strictly prohibit dumping or incineration of dangerous goods at sea. Continuously improve the detection system of marine environmental pollution and carry out timely adjustment to the unreasonable systems. God created the universe, galaxy, Milky Way, this planet called Earth that we live in to perfection. And we, the humans, are ruining nature in all possible ways we can. So greedy assholes. We are affected adversely by so many natural and man-made calamities as a result of these environmental damages, but never change and continue to cause more damages only. Apocalypse is real close if we smell the symptoms like proliferation of pandemics, tsunamis, hurricanes, typhoons, volcano eruptions, tornadoes, acid rains, flooding, famine, accidents in industries and transportation, earthquakes, etc. Ecological balance is gone with the wind. Population explosion has made this world highly materialistic, and it is a root cause of all these premeditated environmental damage acts. 50 years back, life was so peaceful, very little pollution. People were consuming food made out of materials grown organically without any synthetic fertilizers or no genetic modification of food crops. Generally, people were content with what they had and lifestyle was much better. People were so peaceful. That is not the situation now. People make money in all possible ways by killing the others. They are not happy. What do they take when they go to when the soul leaves the body? Nothing. Even the shit they can't take. People live healthy lives till death. Lifespan has increased now, but people are leading miserable lives. Stress is very high, and that's the prime reason why impotency has gone through the roof besides unhealthy lifestyles. I challenge you to locate a real happy person in this world now. People are faking happiness too, like love and affection. Improper utilization or overuse or abuse is exploitation in simple terms. Debates, discussion on open-ended topics like this can go on forever. Anyway, let me pull the plug here. We'll meet again real soon with another interesting topic. Not interesting, socially relevant topic. Some of the statements, views expressed are solely mine based on limited knowledge gained over decades, 6 decades of versatile experience. Always watch these videos with the closed caption, subtitles for absolute 100% comprehension as per my sincere recommendation. Zillion times so far. I rushed through the presentation to finish it off in 20 minutes max, which is a norm that I have set myself to retain the viewer's attention. But I am also aware of the fact that I am taking almost double the time or sometimes even triple the time, since I make honest attempts to cover the selected topic more elaborately, including so many intricate fine details referring a wide variety of the sources, in particular Wikipedia quite extensively, besides articles and books published recently. Besides, of course, I sprinkle my own salt and pepper and season it with my personal experience so far in my life and also intuition. Stay at home as much as possible to maintain social distancing attributed to the pandemic novel COVID-19 and prolong your lifespan. Lead a healthy life. God alone can put a stop to natural, unnatural, maybe bio-war, cyber-war events like pandemics, which may lead to apocalypse and extinction of all sentient species on Earth for no fault of the others. No fault of theirs. Rest in peace and harmony.